welcome to the second part of the beginner guitar course here with me, Pearson. I hope you've been practicing your fretting of the notes because we're going to be using it quite a great deal right now. First of all, I just want to talk to you a little bit about chords before we get straight into the playing. There's a couple of things you need to know about chords. Now the first thing is what they actually are. If I just tell you now that the definition of a chord is this. It's when you play 3 notes or more at the same time. Now on a guitar you can play as many as 6 notes at the same time because we've got 6 strings here. So if I was to play 1 note like we were doing in the first part, it's not a chord. If I was to play 2 notes at the same time like we were doing in the fretting of the notes, it's not a chord. That's got a different name which you don't need to worry about for now. It's called an interval. And then the final thing is when we're playing 3 notes at the same time. So let's take the chord that we're going to be learning in a minute. Don't try and play this yet because there's a couple of things I need to show you about it first. If we play 3 notes, we're playing at the same time, that is then a chord. Now you can add notes after that, so I can add 4 notes, and that's 4 notes, it's still a chord. You can add whole 6 notes. Now these chords we're going to get onto in a minute, so I don't want you to rush ahead and start playing them because you'll start developing some bad habits and I need to get rid of them right now. Okay, another thing I want to talk to you about before we jump into this playing, because it's pretty important, it's the subject of pain. And now a lot of people when they're playing, you're going to develop a little bit of pain. You might have already experienced this in the first course, the first part of the course with the fretting. Strings are quite tough, tough little animals. They're made of steel. Your skin is obviously very soft and probably very supple and very delicate at the moment if you've never played before. So by fretting notes, you're going to be pushing down on the skin, and if you're sliding around as well, you're going to start scraping at the skin as well. Now there's no way to get around it. Playing guitar, the very first few weeks are going to be painful. Don't let that demotivate you. Don't let that put you off playing. It's just one of those things that, just like when you're training your body, if you're an athlete or if you're running or if you're into the gym or sports, your body needs time to develop and get used to what you're doing. And the guitar is quite a physical thing on your fingers. That covers everything about chords that you need to know. No pain, no gain. Keep at it. Keep practicing consistently, and you'll get a development of the hardness on there. Stay motivated and practice 30 minutes a day on the material that we're going to cover. Alright, now we're going to zoom in. I'm going to show you the fretboard hand. You don't need to see what I'm doing with the right hand because it's very simple. And we're going to look at our first chord, which is a D major chord. Okay, so we're back on the fretboard now. Now, what we're going to do, the way we build up chords is going to be the same on all of my lessons from the start, and you'll get used to it. What we're going to do, first thing I want to talk about is the thumb position. Where does the thumb go? Now remember I told you to use the palm of your hand in the fretting lesson. Palm of your hand in here and then slowly let the hand grab around here. That's great for fretting and it forces the hand to leave that gap, that arch that I was talking about, so that you don't mute strings underneath. For this chord though, the thumb is going to sit slightly further down here. It's just going to be on the side of the fretboard. So if I just show you that, it's just slightly poking up from the fretboard, not actually right over like this, just the tip of the thumb on the side. The other thing to bear in mind, if you imagine that the bottom side of this fret here, the fretboard, sorry, the bottom side of it, imagine that that is electrified, and if you touch it with the palm of your hand, you're going to get an electric shock. It's very important that this part of the hand, the palm, doesn't actually touch the bottom of the fretboard, because if it is, and a lot of people find that they can't actually get the notes to ring out clearly. So make sure that the thumb's just here and your hand position is nice and relaxed here. Now, we're going to build the chord 1 note at a time. First note, first finger, you'll be able to see that there's a chord diagram to help you with this. See the Guitar 101 course if you haven't actually covered it before, because that'll tell you how to read the diagrams. First finger, it's going to be on the 2nd fret on the 3rd string here, the G string. So count 1, 2, remember, sit just behind the string, and you're going to play this note on its own. Should sound something similar to that if you're in tune. The next one that we're going to do, and make sure that this is placed not on the fret, not too far back, but just behind the fret. Next finger we're going to focus on is the second finger here. The second finger sits on the second fret on the first string, the very thinnest one here. So if you count up 1, 2, keep the first finger in place, place the second finger just behind the second fret. Now both of them should line up together like this, and just play the second finger on its own with a downstroke. Should sound something like that. Now that's great. The final finger then is the third finger, which needs to line up on the third fret on the second string, which is the B string, and again try and place it just behind that fret. Now what you might find, and I'm going to go through all the problems now that come about from this, the third finger might want to slide back here, and that makes it very difficult, just like you've seen in the other parts. It causes a lot of fret buzz. So just try and push it out towards the fret, even if it means just grabbing the finger, pulling it across and letting it sit just behind there. You want to make sure that you're sitting just behind the fret. Now play that note on its own, the third finger on the third fret. Should sound something like that. Now the chord diagram is going to tell us that we need to play 4 strings. We need to play the open D string here, we need to play the string below it, which is going to be our first finger, the third finger and the second finger, and they're all going to need to sound at the same time. Now don't just do that yet, because you'll probably have something that sounds like this. That's what I usually hear when people first start doing this. So let's start building the chord up and start ringing the notes together so we can see where any problems happen. So the first note, we had an open note. Now with all the fingers down where they should be, play that open note and it should ring out. If it sounds like this, what's probably happened is the first finger is pushed up a bit too far and it's muting the string above it. So make sure that the first finger is placed right in the middle. Now you might have bigger fingers than what I do, that doesn't matter, just make sure that you bring it down far enough so that it releases that muting tension. You just got to readjust. Building a chord is all about readjusting these notes. So don't worry about if it's not muting, if it's muting out and you can't hear it, just bring that finger down until it's coming out clearly. Okay, now with that string ringing out, you've got the next string to worry about. Next string is obviously the one that we're fretting. Now this is where we might get into trouble if you're not placing your finger just behind the fretboard like this. Let's now play the first 2 notes. That's what it should sound like. If it doesn't, it might sound like this. Now that could be because the finger has gone too far back, it might be because you're too far forward and you're getting a mute. Make sure it's just behind, placed down nice and neatly. If you're muting the first string, just bring it down and readjust that first finger. Okay, the next one, which people don't usually have too many problems with, the third finger here, we're going to bring that note in, we're going to play the 3 notes now. We're going to play the first note, second note. Again, if there's any problems there, readjust, start again. And we're going to play the third note now. Should sound like that. If any of the strings before it didn't sound out, just readjust the first finger. If the note on the first finger doesn't come out, it could be that the third finger has slipped slightly forward and is muting that string. Make sure that all the strings have plenty of room to move. That's what it should sound like. If you're getting fret buzz, the third finger might have slipped back slightly. Make sure that the fingers are just behind the fret. Alright, now the big one. This is where, and don't worry if this is happening because it always happens. If it doesn't happen to you, then you're doing a very good job. The last note on the second finger, this one here, that's tucked in just behind on the second fret. What always happens is that this finger here is laid flat across the string. So you get the first 3 notes, and then the last note sounds like this, which is not obviously what you want. You want to hear all the notes ringing out. That is because the third finger has flattened across the string. It might even be that when you raise them up like this, you've still got that thumb there, you've cleared the space, but the actual third finger isn't resting on the point, it's resting sort of flat like that. You're still going to get a muted note. You want to make sure that the tip of the finger, and this is why you need to make sure that you don't have nails, is placed on the tip so that you've got plenty of room underneath for the final string to ring out. Okay, now what I want you to do is pick through from start to finish all 4 notes, and it should sound something like this. All downstrokes on the right hand with that. Now if you're getting something that sounds muted on any string, as soon as you hear it, stop and adjust the finger. So if you get something that sounds like this, that second note, there's something wrong there and I need to find out what it is. So I might adjust the first finger, that's okay. Oh no, it's the third finger, I'll move that away. There it comes. Third note, bit buzzy, so I need to move it closer to the fret. Start again. Third note, which always happens, always muted, always because of this third finger. You'll need to adjust. Might need to move back or forward, lift up probably, and there's the note. Once you hear all the notes ringing out, focus on that position that you've got your fingers in and strum the chord. What I want you to do after you've got that chord is release the hand, relax the hand, let it come back with blood, and then start again from the beginning and see how long it takes you to realign the chord. Second time through, it might take you a minute, 2 minutes maybe, to set up this chord again, 1 finger at a time. Again, adjust, and then the final note, and then strum. And again, at any time something doesn't ring out clearly, adjust until it does, and keep on moving the things. I've given you a couple of ideas as to how you can improve the sound. And again, once you've strummed, you've got a clear sound, release the hand, let it relax, realign, do it again. Next part we're going to be looking at the second chord, because there's not many songs that only have one chord there. So we're going to need to look at a couple of other chords so that we can start building, and then we're going to get to the classic where you need to change from one chord to the next, and that is where the problems really start arising. And I'm going to give you as many tools and as many tips as I can on how to avoid any bad habits and anything that might go wrong with playing the chord. So, D major chord done.